Hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and it is Sunday afternoon, so it's time for Soul Sunday. I'm hoping that you have had a pretty good weekend. It's been certainly a challenging one for me, but here we are. We've made it through to Sunday. And I just wanted to make sure that for those of you who are new, welcome. We're a group of people who get together 3 times a week. I've always said that DearMamaSal is about helping people cope with love, life, and other problems. And surely we all have a lot of things to cope with right now. And so it is even more important that we have a community of people that care about one another and support one another. And that's really the subject that we're going to be talking about on Soul Sunday today, is community. What does it mean? And let's think about how we can do it even better than before. Before I get into that, just if you're not already subscribed, please feel free to hit the subscribe button here, and also to click the bell. And the bell is to let you know if we're going to be doing any broadcast. It'll give you a warning, and therefore it's going to ask you, do you want all the notifications? The answer is yes, please. I'd like to just acknowledge Jody, our admin, who does such a great job to look after us all, and she's done awesome work this week. And she does it with every reason not to. She is just does such a great job and never has any excuses on anything. It's just wonderful to work with her. So well done, Jody. And I know it's been difficult at times for you this last few weeks. So well done. I'm very, very proud of you and how you're coping with everything. Hi, Isabel. Good to see you. Hi, Sandy. Why do I need to give you a hug? But I think I do. I'm not sure why. But here's a hug. And so, right, let me carry on for a second. The interesting thing about community is that I have had so many examples of it just in the last few days. It's really strange. But before I get on to that and the topic in general, I just wanted to do a couple of updates. I have, unfortunately, got to make sure that you all know that Anna Marie's daughter did, and she is a nurse, got tested positive for the virus. And so we really do all want to give her our thoughts and prayers. There are no words, right? It's really scary. And we know Kim is struggling from a fever, but she doesn't know whether it's due to virus or her kidney infections. Her kidneys get infected quite often, and that will spike her fever as well. So she's checking into that. We heard from Andy on Friday, and Andy was telling us that his great-grandmother tested negative but is ill. And she's already 100 years old, if you can believe it. Well, I think he said she was 99 point whatever. She's a few months or days away from being 100. So what an incredible life. Just an update on the good news, the birthdays. We have got a number of them coming up. Manon, for those of you who know Manon from France, she will be, she's one of those people that just mentioning her name makes me smile. And I hope you all remember when she came to visit me. And, that's a memory of a lifetime for me. She came to Vancouver and then we got together and then she ended up, I had to bring her home. She was like a daughter that I hadn't seen in a long time. And I thought, I really, anyway, so it's a very fond memory for me that she came. But it's her birthday on the 9th. And so is Jeannie's daughter, who's having a birthday on the 9th as well. And Andy told us that he's going to be 20 on the 14th. So we've got a few birthdays coming up. So I had a bit of a look to see, what does community really mean? And it really means that I need to get this computer. It doesn't want to go up a little bit more, does it? Hi, Emil. Good to see you from Tunis. What time is it in Tunis? It must be the middle of the night again. It amazes me, Emil, but I am so grateful you're here. Today, we're talking about community, and I looked up to see the official definition, and it's a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. And I would like you to think about it. What is the characteristic that we all have in common? Do you think? All right, because there's a reason why we created this little community. And I do believe that the reason we stay is because we have something in common. And the other definition of it is a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. It's 11:30. Oh, that's not too bad then in Tunis at the moment. And it's 3:30 in the afternoon on Sunday here in southern British Columbia, just so that you get a sense of where we're at. In terms of the experiments, I did a new one last night, and that was toaster oven dried. Let me try and get a light on that. Can you see that? Oops. Toaster oven dried tomatoes. And you can probably hear them. Hi, Farmer. Good to see you. It's 8:30 a.m. Monday. It's 15 degrees Celsius. Yeah, they don't talk Celsius. Anyway, so there we go. It is possible. Those are great tomatoes that I dried overnight. And by the way, I'm trying to get into the habit of not wasting food. You know, food that I would normally go, oh, I've got too much of that, you know, and compost some. I'm now actually going, is it still good? And if so, I'm going to dry it. A paid day off, back to work tomorrow. Okay, well, enjoy your day off. So just to give you an idea, this is celery. And this was green beans that I dried and then pulverized. And I'm not quite sure what this is. I'm still trying to work that out, but it's good. It's green. I'm trying to think what it would have been. So what I'm going to do, Tracy makes dehydrated apples, strawberries, and banana at the moment. Awesome. If Tracy would like to tell us how to do that, I am certain that my people would love to know. So what I really encourage you to do is to be aware. And by the way, on next Friday's skills broadcast, I'm going to actually talk about the topic of food rationing in case it comes in, because, you know, I would like to be that we be aware so that we are prepared, not scared, right? I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but what I'm saying is, if it is, are you able to cope? And I want to give you the sort of quantities of food you're likely to have based on. You're asking me, what am I going to cook with these? I thought, hi Lola, good to see you. What I thought was I might add a bit of it in with dips that I'm making, or that sun-dried dried tomatoes I will use on when I'm making, you know, anything that I would normally add a tomato to, I guess. And the celery I will use as seasoning when I'm doing stews and things. Yes, Beth! Oh, thank you so much. We have been so concerned about you, honey. Please, could you give us an update? Oh, that brings tears to my eyes. So, wow. Yeah. So thank you, Beth. Really important. You have no idea how concerned I've been. You took 2 weeks off for you. Beth, I am so proud of you. So proud of you. And, you know, I just do need you to know that I am so glad to hear you're okay. How's your daughter is the other question that we have to ask. Oh, boy. Just while we're waiting for the answers on that, please remember to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I use Facebook to let you know about updating, for example, Anybody that we have news about, I would put it on Facebook. It's our sort of whiteboard to let people know about things. And it is hi, Nasha, good to see you. So please do what you can to keep us updated. I know that some of you need to know that life could get more difficult starting soon. And I say that because we think that we've been through the tough part of it, and I don't believe that we have. And so staying together and supporting one another now is going to be more important than ever. And I've just seen my tea towels, that's going to... I'm not an OCD person, but for some reason, it really visually upsets me when I look in the when I look in the computer and I can see that they're not. What is that on my counter? Ah, not there anymore. Okay, so there we go. I just want to thank you all for coming and trying with the Facebook broadcast on Friday. I know that it didn't work perfectly, but we did get to see some faces and it was wonderful. So I've got some quotes today about community, but I want to explain to you why I decided to have that as a subject. As some of you may have heard, the first thing was that my sister wrote to me, and she said that she knew that I wanted to make a peony and rose garden at the front, and she wanted to make sure that she donated a rose to that effort. And so it went in, I planted it today, and I have put it so the community can enjoy it. It is the most beautiful rose. It's called the Lady Gardener, and it's going to look really wonderful. And then what happened was my neighbors on this side and I were chit-chatting we were all in our back gardens the other day, and we were socially distant but chit-chatting, and it was just such a nice feeling. And these incredible rhubarb grew in their garden, and I'm going, that reminds me of my youth. Right, I can always remember having rhubarb in my garden, and I used to have rhubarb in my last house. I said, I guess that's something I'm going to add to my list. Well, the next day, guess what was standing on my porch? A rhubarb plant. And so I didn't have to take 3 guesses as to where that came from, which I thought was just so kind of them. And, and this beautiful card saying, welcome to the neighborhood, even though I'd been here for 3 months. And then I don't know if you remember, those of you who've watched some of the vlogs that I put up, when I first arrived, there was a guy that I ran down my window and spoke to, and I said to him, because I was brand new, what's the community spirit like here? And he said, there isn't any. And that devastated me because, I wanted community. And, well, guess what? I had spoken to him a second time when I was walking past his place one day, and he was busy digging in the garden. This was early, probably mid-March. Anyway, and I said, oh, boy, you're out early in terms of gardening. And he said, no, but I want to get this bed cleared. It's full of dahlias, and I want to get rid of them. And I said, well, if you got any to spare, then my number is number 32. And so anyway, so what happened was that yesterday, the day before yesterday, I was outside in my front garden, and he drove by and he stopped and he said, do you still want those dahlias? And I said, wow, you got a good memory. Yes, absolutely. So guess what arrived on my doorstep? A bucket, big bucket full of big dahlias. I mean, I don't mean little ones. I mean, serious dahlias. So I have no idea what I'm going to do with them, but I am going to share some with my neighbor because I checked if they would like a couple. But it is about community, right? It's like I've got more than I need, so I will pass them on. Now, the reason I'm talking about that is that every now and then there's this big noise outside, and I didn't know what it was, but I found out what it is. apparently my neighbor plays an accordion, and they have been going out and, doing some Canada type stuff. And I didn't even know about it. I knew it got noisy every now and then, and I wasn't quite sure why. But anyway, so it ended up that today there was a little community gathering next door. Yeah, outside, all socially distant, and they waved at me because I was in my I went to my garden, and so I went over and stood, good 10 feet apart, and then they were telling me things, and and what I said to them was, I'm hearing all the things that you want to do, but you're not doing. And they said, what? And I said, I hear you saying it used to be so nice here because we used to do da 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 da. Why aren't you doing it anymore? Well, we're not allowed to. And I said, well, there are 6 people right here that apparently are very keen to do what you want to do. So why don't we do it? What? Well, why don't we do it? Maybe other people will want to join. And so, and they looked at me and they said, you're right. And I said, well, I don't need to be right. I just want to say that we can either be victims to this or we can create our own world. I said, I want to know, do we have a group of people that know who in the community might be vulnerable now? All right, because you've got a community of over 100 people living here in this community that I'm in. And, I'm pretty sure that some of them are pretty elderly. Are they getting food? That's what I want to know. Are they, do they have what they need? So I guess what I realized was that this is my weekend for community, for understanding that there is a need. And one thing that the people that I was talking to, they all said, yeah, I came here because I wanted community too. And I said, wow. And you let it not happen. And it was so funny because they looked at me and they went, you're right. And I went, I don't need to be right, but think about that. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So why didn't we do it? And they said, we used to have a newsletter. And I said, so why don't we start another one? You know what I mean? It was just like, really? Let's do this, people. All right, so I've got some quotes for you about community. Mother Teresa said, I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. How many of you feel that that is so true, right? We know that we cannot change the world. We cannot undo what has already happened. But maybe we, in our own little individual ways, can make the world a better place because there is a need for that now. Maybe we can be more compassionate. Maybe we can be, and my thing is I can make people laugh, as you know. So it's just like, just by breathing. So I look at it and go, we each have the ability to create such a great community at this time, should we choose to. It's interesting that, not interesting, it's sad. There was a death in my sphere of influence last night. And there was part of me that went, oh, I probably should cancel the broadcast. And I went, no, I should not cancel the broadcast. Because we all need to be here, even when we're sad, right? Or when whatever, because that is what we need to do, is to stay in touch. I cannot tell you how important this is for your mental health. It is said that one can acquire everything in solitude except character. Think about that. You need other people to have character, right? You need to be able to, if you think about the word character, what is it? What do you think about? When you say somebody, has character, 9 times out of 10, it's about what they do for others. And it was said that what should young people do with their lives today? Many things, obviously, but most daring is to create stable communities in which the terrible disease of loneliness can be cured. How many of you have felt that just by being part of Dear Mama Sal, you're not quite as lonely? And I want to thank you because I never feel lonely. It's just like when I say I never feel lonely, I really don't. I know that I have this incredible group of people in my sphere that, if ever I feel lonely, all I need to do is make an effort and there'll be somebody there to talk to me. And I do want you all to understand that that is so important. And also, if you don't do anything, you will be lonely. But to not be lonely, you need to do something. Heroes didn't jump tall buildings or stop bullets with an outstretched hand. They didn't wear boots and capes. They bled and they bruised. And their superpowers were as simple as listening and loving. Heroes were ordinary people who knew that even if their own lives were impossibly knotted, they could untangle somebody else's. And maybe that is one act that could lead someone to rescue you right back. And I can remember somebody saying to me once when I was on stage, and they just listened to me do a speech, and they came up to me afterwards and they said, I love how you live your life. And I said, wow, thank you. And they said, no, because I can tell how, I'd mentioned the fact that when I was a speaker, I gave an equal amount of my speaking time donated it for people with lupus or, addicts in a halfway house or whatever. I used to go into the prison system and go and try and help convicts as well. But what I said was, for everyone speech I do that I get paid, I wanted to donate, and that was my right. Right, it's my life. I can do what I like. And she said, when I get to be as well known as you are, I will do the same. And I laughed and I said, bless you. But I've got very bad news for you. And she said, what's that? And I said, I've been doing that all my life. If I had waited until I was so-called famous, I would never be here. And I would never have done what I've done. You see, the act of community is something you either are drawn to or not. And I think about Jody, who the moment she heard that, there was a shortage of masks, hauled out or had Lionel haul out her sewing machine that she cranked up for the first time in how many years, Jody? And then she was busy online ordering material and elastic and everything else. And she has been so incredibly productive doing what she can, with her, incredibly painful arthritis, with all the reasons why she shouldn't be doing it. She is doing that to help others. And Jodie's saying, Dear Mama Sal, as a group, has changed my life very significantly, even the ways I think and react in my everyday life. I carry you all in my heart, and I think of you so often through my days. Yes, and I would say that would be true for a lot of us, Jodie. And it is an incredible reality that a lot of us think of you, Jodie, as you know, because you have done wonderful work here to support people and to care, and also living your own life, as difficult as it is. So no man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of a continent, a part of a man. If a clod be washed away by the sea, a clod is a lump of earth. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less. As well as if a promontory, sticking out bit, were as well as if a manner of thy friends or thine own were. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never sinned to know for whom the bells toll. It tolls for thee. Rinsky is saying, Jody, Mama Sal, and everybody else, you all have created such a wonderful community that I know I will remember forever. Well, Rinsky, you're part of it, honey. And, you know, I have always said, Dear Mama Sal is not about me. It's about the group of whoever that group is this time, this year, you know, in this moment. I have always believed those that need to find us will, and we will help one another and help ourselves by so doing. How many of you have found that by helping others, to cope, that you are coping better yourself? Wendell Berry said, Sal's got something stuck in her teeth. People use drugs, legal and illegal, because their lives are intolerably painful and dull. They hate their work and they find no rest in their leisure. They are estranged from their families and their neighbors. It should tell us something that in healthy societies, drug use is celebrative, convivial, and occasional, whereas among us it is lonely, shameful, and addictive. We need drugs apparently because we have lost each other. Wow, isn't that the truth? Hi there, Erin, good to see you. And Amel is thanking Rinsky for her kind words, and Sandy is saying, yes, I feel like part of a family, even though I haven't been interacting long. You know, Sandy, you feel like part of a family because you are. And I don't think it matters how long, right? One of the things that always amazes me is the people who come and join in. But on the other hand, Sandy, we know, and I have talked to people one-on-one who watched us for years, months and some years without ever interacting. But they were always there and we didn't know. They were like ghosts that we were not aware of. And when they eventually spoke, you know, I was going, gosh, how long have you been watching us? Years. Really? So you see, we never know who we get to influence. But by helping us, those of us who are here today, by helping each other, we're helping others in the big ripple. Remember what Mother Teresa said, you know, by doing one thing at a time, you cause the ripple that will help others. And how many of you like this quote? Educate a boy and you educate an individual. Educate a girl and you educate a community. And I believe that the stats are already there, that the communities and countries that are led by women have been much kinder to their societies than those led by men. And we already have those figures. It's not all about the money. Annie DeFranco said, I know there is strength in differences between us. I know there is comfort where we overlap. And Stephen R. Covey wrote, strength lies in differences, not in similarities. You know, I keep thinking about Beth. When Beth first joined us, there were so many things that I could relate to in what she was bothering to tell us. And I say bothering to tell us because it was really amazing. When Beth first joined us, she was so honest about what was going on in her life. that I actually thought she was a troll. I don't mind telling you that. And I think I said to Jody, just be careful here, we might have a troll. But she was just so open and so honest, and that's unusual. And I look at it and I think, wow, here we are, and we've watched Beth go through good and bad. And I am still so grateful that she became part of the community, because she has taught us all a great deal about work ethic, about just doing what needs to be done. And, we all, each of us, are an example. If you look at Erin, who, basically has use of one arm, part of one arm, and her brain, thank goodness. But, really is incapacitated beyond belief in so many ways. And yet, such an incredibly good support to different people. And, you never hear, well, I very rarely have I ever heard Erin complain. And she, boy, does she have reason to. So, you look at it and you go, the strength is not that I am physically able to do things that Erin can't. But, Erin is a wonderful inspiration to me whenever I'm feeling a bit cranky because, my muscles aren't working as well as they might or whatever. I will think of Erin and go, what am I complaining about? And I go, thank you, Erin, and off I go. I was thinking about Lauren the other day. Lauren is in a wheelchair, and she does still have her legs, but they don't work. And, I was having trouble getting my socks on. And I go, who in our community has problems getting their socks on? And I was thinking, how does Lauren do it? Right? Because she can't lift up her leg to put her socks on. I wonder how she does it. So I had her train me. So you see, sometimes our differences are the best things because that's where we can help one another. Oliver Sacks said, we speak not only to tell other people what we think, but to tell ourselves what we think. Speech is a part of thought. Speech is a part of the. I can remember when I, at one time in my life, was doing some therapy on something that was really concerning me. And, I can remember, I got to show you this because it's easier to see than talk about. I can remember the therapist saying to me, do you have a problem? I go, yeah, that's why I'm here. He said, no. Let me just explain something to you. Can you hear somebody ask a question about something? And does your mind go like this? And in a split second, you give them the answer. Do any of you relate to that? It's like somebody will say something and your mind goes, that's the answer. And I said, it happens to me all the time. How did you know? And he said, well, you are what we call a verbal genius. And I said, nobody's ever used that word on me before. And he said, no, some of your greatest wisdom will come when you're talking. Not when you're thinking, but when you're talking. And I was saying to Jody today, that just when I was busy trying to get ready, I am amazed how many times when I'm thinking, what should I talk about today? I just have to stop for a second and go, what's going on today? Because that is what I need to talk about. Because the chances are, if it's happening to me, it's happening to others. Yasha's saying, Mama Sal, you truly taught us how to be less fearful. because that moment I cannot see clearly, but I'm not freaking out like I would have been. So thank you. Yeah. So do you know why you're not seeing? I mean, you haven't seen clearly for some time, right? And can you get to an eye doctor to find out why that's happening? Is it painful? But and what I'm trying to find out, Nyasha, is that from the day I first met you, you told me that you were having sight issues. So I want to know, from what I'm hearing in the last 24 hours, sounds like it has got quite a bit worse suddenly. Is that true? Because if so, I do think that you need to get it checked. There is an immense power when a group of people with similar interests gets together to work on the same goal. And I would like to suggest that we are all a group of people that get together working on the goal of improving our lives, of learning more, of helping one another cope, of, coming up with ideas. And, to me, that is what we're all here for. I was quite surprised, I was talking on Friday about the fact that Benji had called me, but, he had a particular thing going on and he had processed it to a very deep degree. And he said, but Sal, he calls me mom, but he says, Mom, I wanted to just run it by you because I want to hear what I've forgotten. And I said, what, honey? And he said, no, you're so good about that. And I said, about what? And he said, we'll just keep talking about it because I know somewhere in what you have to say, I will know I forgot that bit and I need to have that bit in there. And I said, sure, honey. And we talked away backwards, forwards, around everything. And then I just happened to make a side comment and he went, there it is. That is what I forgot. That is what I need to do. And I just, I cried. Because I thought it was just so magical, because he knows that one of the ways to to get information is to talk to me, right? And sometimes it takes a while for the bit that you want to come out. Yes, you're saying it was, but now the pain is no more, and I can see letters as vivid. Sorry if the words did not type correctly. No, you're doing great. I don't know why you keep apologizing for the words not typing correctly, because you probably type better than most of us. Beauty is not who you are on the outside. It is the wisdom and time you gave away to save another struggling soul like you. How about that? And I would like to thank you all for being so beautiful, because you are. Because you all give time to save other struggling souls like you. Thank you. Wow, it's interesting. Niasha's saying people advised her not to use phones or laptops, but I cannot do without technology. No, it is your lifeline. I understand that, Niasha. Dorothy Day, in the book The Long Loneliness, which, by the way, was an autobiography of the legendary Catholic social activist, said, we have all known the long loneliness, and we have learned that the only solution is love, and that love comes with community. How about that? How many of you agree with that? That love comes with community. When I go out and into my back garden, my vegetable garden area, and see my neighbors, and say hi and chit chat, that's love. And, it was so funny. I knew how much my neighbor's wife liked me when she said to the other people, Yeah, she's really funny. And by the way, we're either going to be very good friends or the opposite. And I looked at her and I said, that's going to be your choice. But I thought the honesty of that comment was so wonderful. And I thought she must really like me to actually say that out loud. Jean Roddenberry said, if a man is to survive, he will have to learn to take a delight in the essential differences between men and between cultures. He will learn that differences in ideas and attitudes are a delight, part of life's exciting variety, not something to be feared. We're all about to see huge changes in our lives. And I want you to remember, it is part of life's exciting variety. You're going to prove to yourself that you can cope in a way that you didn't ever think you could. And so I want you to see this challenge that is coming as showing you how powerful you really are. Nada, I am so glad to hear from you. I really am. You came into my mind yesterday, and I am delighted that you popped in. I'm sorry your stomach is upset, but thank you for listening in. But many of us seek community solely to escape the fear of being alone. Knowing how to be in solitary is central to the art of loving. When we can be alone, we can be with ourselves without using other people as a means of escape. It's something that I was talking about not so long ago, that I consider myself incredibly fortunate that I am happy as a person. I've learned to be happy as a person, and I amuse myself. I don't always need other people to make my life better, but it's wonderful when I can have them. But I am pretty self-sufficient. I think for a lot of young people, this isolation is going to be a huge problem. We are already seeing that there are some people who think that the isolation is threatening their rights to their basic rights to life. And they don't care that people are going to die if they congregate without social distance. They don't care about that. And I was trying to explain to everybody that there are always going to be those people. Always going to be those people. And so to get upset with them is not going to change anything. Our job is to look after ourselves. We cannot control, it's not our job to control them. It is the government's job to control them if they can. And they probably won't. But it is our job to stay safe, even though that is happening. So be careful when you shop. If you have to go and shop, be careful. I think you can still socialize at a distance. I was amazed how social we were. Ah, isn't that cute? Nada's saying, I'm sorry, my sunshine rays have not been shining as brightly to you all lately. I'm hoping you understand. Nada, we always love it when you're here. But we also know that you're going through a very difficult time in your life. So hang in there and keep in touch if you can. And you know how to contact me if I can help. This is an interesting quote Says once you educate boys, they tend to leave the villages and go search for work in the cities. But the girls stay home, become leaders in the community, and pass on what they have learned. If you really want to change a culture, to empower women, to improve basic hygiene and healthcare, and to fight high rates of infant mortality, the answer is educate your girls. Isn't that the truth? Now, that sounds also pretty sexist, and I think there are some incredibly great guys who will do great things as well, but I understand the principle of it. How about this one about gardens? The single greatest lesson the garden teaches is that our relationship to the planet need not be zero sum, and that as long as the sun still shines and people can still plan and plant, think and do, we can, if we bother to try, find ways to provide for ourselves without diminishing the world. Part of what I want to bring you on Friday is the reality of what people did to provide food and how incredible that effort was and how they did it. And when they were, isolated, and when they were on rationing and everything, it is amazing to hear what people did. And I thought some of you would like to share some of that history. The other thing that I wanted to do was to bring some context. I don't necessarily think we're going to have the same thing, but what if we do get some sort of rationing? Where will it come, and what will be likely be rationed? I think that we all need to be aware. Sharon Alder said this: one of the most important things you can do on this earth is to let people know they are not alone. You know, I know that some of you know the pain of bereavement. Some of you know that incredible pain of loss. And the other thing you know is there's very little that people who care for you can say or do that will make any difference. It is a most devastating time. And I want to tell you that my greatest reality, I think, is to know that I've got somebody I care about greatly that is going through this loss, and there is so little that I can do to help. Hi, Chloe. And it's just like it's just so difficult. But you know what I can do? I can continue to send hugs. I can continue to be there. I can continue to do what I can. It was said, we don't heal in isolation, but in community. And how many of you have found that? That, when whatever your pain was, for some of you, it is the pain of health issues. For some of you, it has been the pain of mental issues. For some of you, it has been different sorts of pain. All right. But the truth is, we need each other to heal. We need to know that somebody understands the pain. They can't fix it for us, but they can understand it, or at least be aware that we are struggling. Erin Morgenstern said, And there are never really endings, happy or otherwise. Things keep going on. They overlap and blur. Your story is part of your sister's story, is part of so many other stories, and there is no telling where any of them may lead. You know, one of the things that I keep saying wasn't it a coincidence? I don't believe in those, but you know that we spent a year talking about emotional intelligence. And then this year this happens and we need the emotional intelligence. I don't believe in that being a coincidence. Healing is impossible in loneliness. It is the opposite of loneliness. Conviviality is healing, chit-chatting. To be healed, we must come with all the other creatures to the feast of creation. I really want to remind you all that keeping social, however you are able to do it, will be a very important part of your life going forward. I am starting to have regular meetups on the computer with certain friends. Wait a minute, let me just see if I understand. Nyasha's asking, MamaSal, can you ask the viewers for an app for me to use on my phone so I can still use my phone without seeing any words? I want a reading app. You talking about when you're on are you talking about when you're on YouTube, or are you talking about that you want an app that will read you books? To help me understand what you need. Many people are good about talking about what they're doing, but in fact do little. Others do a lot, but don't talk about it, and they are the ones who make a community live. Community is a sign that love is possible in a materialistic world where people so often either ignore or fight each other. It is a sign that we don't need a lot of money to be happy. In fact, the opposite. Okay, so the person, all right, so Nyasha's saying like Facebook, I cannot see anything but black writings. I can't see clearly what is said. Yeah, I certainly, we can ask. I'm not sure if anybody knows. I'm certain somebody knows. Have you, um, so you're looking for a voice translation for things like Facebook? Hmm. I'm thinking it must be possible because we already have the technology where you can talk and it will type. We must have the opposite of that. And because I actually can download an ebook and it will talk the ebook. So it must be possible. So we'll do some research and pass it on to you, Nyasha. It might take a while, but we'll put it on our list of things to do and see what we can find out for you. And if we can't find it, I certainly will put it out to the viewers to see if they have an answer. By the way, that's the royal we. When I say we will be doing the research to see if we can find it, normally means Jody will do it because she's loves to do those sort of things. She's probably already doing it right now. Okay, so Jody is already saying, I wonder if enabling the reverse graphics would help. So the screen is dark and the writing is highlighted. Yes, that's an interesting one. That might help. Yeah. Um, Quite honestly, Niasha's saying that she also would like it for YouTube. For example, during the broadcast, she'd like to say what people are saying. But it would be very difficult for that to happen, Niasha, because you've got me talking, and over the top of it, you would then have you wouldn't be able to hear either. You wouldn't be able to hear me talk clearly, nor would you be able to hear what other people were saying clearly. That's why I think it won't happen on YouTube, but it might happen on Facebook. So the question is there an app for blind people to use Facebook? That would be the answer. Because if there is, that's the one you want, right? To like many people spontaneously and without effort is perhaps the greatest of all sources of personal happiness. And I would say, Sandy, the moment you walked in the room, we seem to have a unanimous, oh, I like her. So thank you for making us happy. And it is funny because, you don't see that the way that we do. To build community requires vigilant awareness of the work we must continuously do to undermine the socialization that leads us to behave in ways that perpetually dominate. Oscar Scott Card said, every person is defined by the community she belongs to. It's interesting. It is not by chance that you're part of this community. As I've said so many times, right? It's just like, it is amazing the people who come. It is amazing the people who stay. It is amazing the people who go but come back. You see, to me, our job is just to be here so that we can be a safe place for when people need us. You make a difference about your life. It's a knock on the head of the mind, setting your life. You see the stars, they shine across the way. You build a bridge, you make it shine. It's the only way to make a difference is to help the community. And that's from Demi Lovato. Tony Kushner said the smallest invisible human unit is two people, not one. One is a fiction. From such nets of souls, societies, the social world, human life springs. I've always said to people, imagine how lonely it would be for me to stand here and do the broadcast without anybody else listening. And I can remember when I did that. I cannot tell you how lonely that was, the first broadcast I ever did. Ah, see, Jody's already found, Jody's saying, Yasha, I found a few things. I will send you a message after the broadcast. Thank you so much, Jody. Why am I not surprised? Teaching kids how to feed themselves and how to live in a community responsibly is the center of an education. One of the things that I have always applauded Benji for is the fact that he is teaching the children how to grow vegetables, right? And this year he's actually letting them plant seedlings, and so many of them so many seedlings have died. And then, like me, he planted them and the slugs ate them. But you see, that's teaching children life. That is what happens. Chloe saying, Mama Sal, you have a lovely, warm and comforting voice. Thank you very much. It's Sunday. I really do try to keep my voice calm on a Sunday, although sometimes it's challenging, Chloe. How about this one? I thought this was really cute. We of alien looks or words must stick together. My tribe are people who understand, right? And I'm certain that some of you are going, wow, some of these people are a bit like me. I'm not alone. Saints do not exist without community, as they require, like all of us, nurturance by people who, while often unfaithful, preserve the habits necessary to learn the story of God. Think about this one. The Christian community should do as Jesus did, propose and not impose. Its attractions must lie in the radiance cast by the love of brothers. How many of you have met somebody and said, I want to be more like them? They were your inspiration to be a better person, maybe. They were the inspiration for you to handle your troubles a bit better. They were the inspiration for you to cope at a different level. And that is community. Wendell Berry said, I believe that the community, in its fullest sense, a place and all its creatures, is the small unit of health that to speak of the health of an isolated individual is a contradiction in terms. We need each other to be healthy. Susan Sontag said, all struggle, all resistance must be concrete, and all struggle has a global resonance. If not here, then there. If not now, then soon. Elsewhere as well as here. One of the points that I've been trying to make of late is let us not be scared of what is coming down the line. Let us be prepared to cope with it. And so I don't know if any of you have noticed that it's really difficult to get a fridge or a freezer today. I'm trying to find a new second freezer. And though my intellect is saying, yeah, but if you have a power cut, you're going to waste an awful lot of money. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe what I need to learn to do is to make beef jerky and, that sort of thing, so that, it's amazing how creative we are going to need to be in order to do what we may have to do. And, one of the things that I am busy looking at is what would I most miss if we go into rationing of any sort? I think cheese. I realize that cheese is a major part of my life. I can do without quite as much meat, but cheese, and I'm going, I can't grow cheese. A cow would be necessary. I don't think you can dehydrate cheese. The time has probably come for me to start stocking up on bottles of cheese. And, that's one thing for those of you who've been keeping track of the shopping list I've been recommending. This week I started to stock up on more pastas and pasta sauces. But what I thought about, and it'll be on my next shopping list, is what things do I need to add to the basics to make it tasty? So, obviously bottled pasta sauces are good, but I'm thinking things like tasty mustards or things that will last a lifetime in a bottle. But, maybe chutney, things like that that will add taste to things in a hurry. Because otherwise food is going to be very bland for a long time. Happiness is good, but well, overrated. What we hate most are very motivators that put us in gear. A man drifts along with little to contribute until something agitates him enough to make a difference, whether for himself or for his community. This is going to agitate a lot of people. A lot of people are going to really get angry because their life as they knew it is going to change. By the way, if you've got a sense of humor, you might smile as I did when I thought about how many people I had seen YouTube videos on who were busy planning for the apocalypse, and storing food and doing all sorts of things. And I'm going, they might turn out to be the smart people. How about this one? They want us to be afraid. They want us to be afraid of leaving our homes. They want us to barricade the doors and hide our children. Their aim is to make us fear life itself. They want us to hate. They want us to hate the other. They want us to practice aggression, the perfect antagonism. Their aim is to divide us all. They want us to be inhuman. They want us to throw out kindness, and they want us to bury our love and burn our hope. Their aim is to take all of our light. They think their brick walls will separate us. They think their damned bombs will defeat us. They are so ignorant they didn't understand that my soul and your soul are old friends. They are so ignorant they didn't understand that when they cut you, I bleed. They are also ignorant that they cannot understand that we will never be afraid, that we will never hate, and we will never be silent, for the life is ours. Wow. Right, so Nyasha's suggesting to use flavored peppers. I understand that, Nyasha. So flavored peppers are some of the things I'm going to start dehydrating so that I have them. I'm thinking I don't have room in my fridge and freezer for extra food now. And so now I'm looking at dehydrating the things but that's a very good idea to dehydrate peppers. Sweet ones for me. It is said that unless today is well lived, tomorrow is not important. I wonder how many of you realize that the way you live today will affect your tomorrow, and yet tomorrow you will wake up and make a decision. Your decision will be how active will you be, how kind will you be, how caring will you be, how useless will you be. I have found that those of you who work to a routine will live happier lives than those of you who don't. I find that if I just sort of get up in the morning and I don't have a plan on what it is I want to get achieved, I am inclined to sit a lot. And yet when I have a plan of what I want to achieve, I sort of keep going because I want to achieve the goal of the day. And I don't overset my goals. I just really work on having one or two major ones each day. And I would really recommend that you all do. And it doesn't mean I have to finish it. It means that I will spend a lot of time working on that goal, taking one more step or two more steps. Yesterday, I went out to go and plant the rose that my sister had given me. And I was out there, even though it was raining. And I was quite happy planting in the rain until torrential rain hit. Hail, just, it was just one step away from hail, and it was really bad. And I'm going, this is not a good time to be planting anything. And so I took my rose back under cover because I didn't want it to, be damaged. And I went inside and went, okay, let me know when I can plant the rose. And it was so funny because we kept having these bands of torrential rain yesterday, and I guess it wasn't the day. But what I do know is that the ground, the planter box that I had prepared for the rose was well and truly watered when I went to plant it today. All too often, we think of community in terms of being with folks like ourselves, the same class, the same race, the same ethnicity, the same social standing, and the like. I think we need to be wary. We need to work against the danger of invoking something that we don't challenge ourselves to actually practice. I want to tell you that one of the interesting things about this community in which I live is people come from all different walks of life. Amazing. Some have been here for 30 years, and some, like myself, are newbies. But you know what I find interesting is that really there's a cross section of people and thoughts and ideas. And if I am to be educated, I need to listen to them all. Because in listening, I will find out how I can be of value to other people. Every human activity can be put at the service of the divine and of love. We should all exercise our gift to build community. Thanks, Jody. And I think some of you will remember that when I first came here and heard that the sense of community wasn't very great here, I think some of you will remember I said, maybe that's why I'm here. and maybe they're going to get community whether they want it or not. And I got a memory that some of you actually said that, a couple of months ago. But you see, I don't have to do it. I just need to encourage the people that want to do it better. So I already have these neighbors that are going out and singing "Oh Canada." I already, with the accordion and everything and the pots and pans. Except I didn't know what they were doing. So now I need to support them to do more. All right. And I will go out there with my pot and pan and sing "Oh Canada" with them. I just got to find out why. But I really, Jody's saying she was the one that said, if they haven't got community yet, they're going to. Yep. Thank you, Jody. You know me well. But, I didn't know why it would be needed, Jody. But isn't that interesting? So here's the countdown. Valentine's Day is 9 months and 16 days away. By the way, do you guys like the countdown? I sort of add it because, never mind, you're going to get it anyway. Christmas is 235 days away. It's amazing how it's creeping up. And we have 7 months to get our Christmas cards in the mail. All right, we're down to 6 months and 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe, to American Thanksgiving, and only 5 months and 2 weeks for Canadian one because we have ours in October. If you're in the States or pay taxes to the States, you've got 2 months and 2 weeks to go. Actually, 13 days. And those of us in Canada, we only have 29 days. Not going to happen. All right, so here we go. If you're in the northern hemisphere, if you're north of the equator, you have 47 days until summer. If you are south of the equator, you have 47 days until winter. So be aware, be prepared, not scared. And for those of you who are keeping track, I actually am amazed that I moved in here 3 months and 22 days ago. So I've had a whole season here. Yeah, Sandy's saying I need to get on the tax train. You and I both. But you know, it's like there seem to be so many other things going on at the same time, which will make it all the more important that we all pay our taxes. But you know, it really is very challenging. So I want you all, if you can, to be aware that being part of this community is not only important for you, but it's important for the other people. We all have a sort of rotation. There are some days where we are the givers, and there are some days where we need to just be okay to receive. I think it's really difficult for some people to receive. And I actually had it as well with my neighbor the other day. I was saying something to her, and I said, "You are such a kind spirit." And she said, "No, I'm not." And I said, "You need to be really careful knocking down when people compliment you, because the moment you do that, you make me wrong. I don't like being wrong." And she looked at me and she said, "I never thought of it that way." And I said, "That's why I'm here." So I'm going to say it again, and be careful how you reply this time. You are such a kind spirit, in my view. And she said, "Thank you." And I said, "That's much better. Well done." They've got a lot of learning to do around here, people. But don't you find it interesting that here I am on my own, and the community, if you think about it, the community is in its own way coming to me. It's quite weird, you know. It's like I am the new person on the block, but they are looking to me to you know, activate all of this, and I'm not going to activate it. I'm going to encourage the people who want to do things to do it. I'm good at that. Delegation is my thing. And I will, you know, I will put resources towards it. And, you know, and I said, "Hey, I've got a big whiteboard. I can put it out in my driveway and let people know we got something going on." Because, you know, we're not allowed to post things on the public areas. I'm saying, "Oh, we're not going to be stopped by that." I'm going to put my whiteboard out and let everybody know we got a party going on. You know, there's so many different ways in which things are possible if you want it to be. And that is really what community is all about. It is, how do we do the best we can? By the way, I want to put out just a little bit of a warning here, that not everybody wants community. Some people really do want to isolate away from everybody else. And therefore, if you start to create community for some people, they will fight against it very hard. And I think if you doubt that people need community, look what's been happening when people come out of isolation, right? They want to congregate in places where there are lots of people. People were told, do not go out and form a crowd to watch the Blue Angels fly over the mall in the States. And it was, you know, and everybody did. They went out and no social distancing. Crowds of people went to go and watch the Blue Angels fly over. And so you look at it and you go, that's about community. They want to be part of that. People want to go out and sing together or bang pots and pans together. We have that need. We have it deep within us. But there'll be days when it isn't what we want to be doing, and we'll get frustrated with the noise, or why do they have to do that? The one time I was doing a broadcast and I know it was going on, and I was just hopeful that you guys couldn't hear it as well as I could. And it was just like, it's not always going to be a good thing, but we need it desperately. So before I go, for those of you who have suffered a loss in your family recently, let me know what helped you the most. I would like to be a good friend to the family that has just suffered this loss within my sphere. And I'm saying, can you let me know? Because I want to know what I haven't thought of. I want to be thoughtful. I realize there's nothing I can do to make it better. But I wonder from your experience, what made it feel better, even though nothing could take away that pain. If you could help me on that, I'd appreciate it. So again, let us keep Anna Marie's daughter in our thoughts and prayers, because she has now been confirmed to have the virus. And let us continue to pray for all those who may still get it. And I would again warn you all to expect a spike in the number of people who get the virus and the number of deaths, because we cannot come out of social distancing. We cannot come out of isolation. And even if we are social distancing, there will be a jump. And we should expect that, not be surprised, be prepared, not scared. So I would say to you all, the more realistic you are at this time, the more real you are about what your needs are, what you need to feel safe, what you need to be loved, what you need, like Nyasha's saying, my eyes are failing. I need to be able to keep contact, so I need to know how to do this. It's really important. And aren't we so lucky, Nyasha, that we have the technology that probably will allow you to do it? Al Gore said, we have to abandon the conceit that isolated personal actions are going to solve this crisis. Our policies have to shift. Right? And he was talking about climate change, but you understand that life as we know, I really don't think we will ever go back to where we were on March the 1st. Yeah. Nyasha saying thank you for the broadcast. My pleasure, Nyasha, you know that. Thank you for being here. It's so lonely when I have to talk to myself. And Sandy saying the nice weather has finally arrived here in Ontario. I expect a spike here soon. Sandy, that is very realistic, right? Be safe if you possibly can. I am trying to teach people as best I can not to expect everybody to obey the rules, because people don't. But what I am saying is go out of your way not to be in the line of fire. Does that make sense to you guys? Just because other people are doing it doesn't mean that you should. Stay safe as long as you possibly can. Okay. Thank you. Jody's saying, oh, interesting. She was saying that when Lionel's daddy died, you supported Lionel and I through the loss of his father by your frequent caring words. I'm sure the person in your life that is grieving feels very loved by you and knows how much you care. Yeah. That's why I really, today was at a loss for, for what to do to help because I know I cannot help. Yeah. I want to tell you that this year will be an incredibly testing year for us all. And I will need you guys as much as you hopefully will also need me. And I will need you to help one another more than you ever have before. I begin to think that maybe, these years of doing Dear Mama Sal was training so that we would know how to help one another when something like this happened. I think we're going to have ideas. I want to know, though, if you can let me know that, what sort of topics do you want me to talk about? I decided that I am going to do one about possible rationing because I think if you can see the reality of that and know that that could happen, then you can start thinking about, maybe you want to start using less now so you can, not have such a big shock if it comes in. It's going to be very different for us all. I think as well, we need to continue to look after the people we care about because an awful lot of people are going to say they're fine when they're not. And so we need to keep in touch and we need to keep them real so we can help. So I send you all a big, big hug. And try not to laugh at me as I do these experiments about what can I do with food. Because what I'm hoping is that somewhere along the line, maybe I can, as I said, put the powders into capsules and have vitamins stored in a way that I probably normally wouldn't eat them, but I've done it for myself. Okay, so Jody's saying the relevant topics with the pandemic make so much sense in relation to being prepared and not scared. Nyash is saying, I saw a vlog recently where this individual had a drone, tied some cookies from the bottom with a rope, and flew it across the neighbors. Did they drop it for the neighbors? Or did they just... I think we're going to see wonderful acts of kindness. Look at what happened to me this week. All right. People I didn't know one season ago, for some reason, are bringing me gifts of flowers. I guess that looks like I care, and I don't know what it is, but it was really so cute. And like everything else, I believe that community is what we create. So if you want a caring, supportive community, let's do something. Not necessarily just here, but it's like, who lives on your street? Do you know? All right, Saniash is saying, yes, the neighbors got it. It landed right in their yard. Isn't that beautiful? It's the same thing, Niasha, that I knew that I had unpacked somewhere my helicopter. I had a remote helicopter that Cisco gave me one Christmas. Great fun. But I kept thinking about Dougie and his girlfriend's son. And I was thinking that would be such an ideal gift for them to play with because they could go out together in some lonely field and fly a helicopter. And that would be fun for them, entertaining, more fun than it would be for me. So that is why I passed it on. And I think, again, let's look at what we can do, not what we can't. And we can do a lot to help one another. This is DearMamaSal saying community is part of our life. If we want a good community, we are responsible for creating it. Don't wait for others to do it. Do it for yourself. Kimmy, how are you feeling today? And Jody's saying, thank you, Sal. We appreciate the broadcast and sensitive to its emotional time for you. Jody, yes, it is, but life goes on, right? And so I didn't see it as a good enough reason not to do the broadcast, to be quite honest, because it's part of life. And, you know, when I look at it, one person passes and I know of 3 that are about to arrive. So, you know, it's circle of life stuff, right? I just kept thinking, Jody, to be honest, what a good life he lived and how loved he was, and right to the very end. Oh, good. Kimmy's going to get into the doctor tomorrow. Well done, Kimmy. I'm pleased to hear that. Thank you, Sandy. I'm okay. I'm okay. It's the it's the grieving people I'm trying to support, and that's why I just asked, if any of you've been through it, what worked for you, what didn't. So take care of yourselves. Be prepared, not scared. As I said, this week I stocked up on, and what I'm doing is every time I order in the groceries, I am looking at a category and going, I need extra of this. But does it make sense, Jody? And I was thinking that I hadn't talked about that, but for example, Jeannie sent me some really interesting Musa Makwadi molasses mustard. I'm thinking that's going to be really tasty with some meat. And it's going to turn, things that aren't very tasty into something tasty. So I'm thinking my next order is going to include more things like chutneys and stuff that will make, they're in bottles that will last for a long time. Don't think it has high in oxidants, it's low in sodium, gluten-free, no cholesterol, no fats or eggs, no additives. Wow, that's pretty good. So I'm thinking lots of things like this. Balsamic vinegar, yes, will make things tasty. Nice over salads if you can grow your own salads. And by the way, Jody, I'm now up to 3 butter lettuces growing. Did I tell you that? I've got 3 of them now. So the front one, so this is the new one. This is the one that I got last week. And this is the original one, Jody. And it's still growing away quite happily. I'm now growing them hydroponically because I want to know, can I grow them hydroponically? And if so, then we can all grow our salads without having a garden. Hydroponics is just that it's growing in water. And I don't know if you can see, but the roots are beginning to come through. And once that happens, then, that's awesome. This is, look at the roots on that. And so all of these now I'm growing hydroponically. I'm not going to put them in earth. They are all I'm waiting for the roots. Yes, one root came through. Isn't that exciting? So you understand, once that's happening, that means that basically this is indoors. I'm going to create on this bookcase over here, which gets so much light all year, I'm going to create an indoor garden for the winter, vegetable garden. I think about 5 will need it for a week's worth. Yes, depending on how much salad I'm going to eat. But what I'm looking at is what would be ideal. And I think 5 as well. So I'm continuing to order them. And this is the romaine lettuce that slowest growing you can imagine. I mean, I cannot believe how slow growing it is, but I have harvested it twice, I think. But just be aware. But what I wanted to check, and I'm going to be doing some research this week, what we know is that mint grows like a weed inside, all right? It's just amazing. So remember, I just got those couple of twigs from the supermarket? And look at this now. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to think, what can I make a salad out of? Yes, my question is, somewhere in my mind, I think you can eat the leaves of carrots. Yeah, I've just been given a rhubarb. So what I'm looking for is what does grow inside, because instead of having plants inside this summer, I'm going to be growing food inside this summer, winter rather. I will have some plants, obviously, but what I'm saying is I want to make sure. So they're just in water, yes. Okay, so somebody asked me, how do I get the roots to grow? Kimmy asked that. Kimmy, what you do is you put it in water. When I first put these in, I put about enough water in that it filled up here and it came up about this high onto the roots of the onion. And then as the water evaporates, the roots follow the water down. Does that make sense? I do feed the water, just so that you know. The water is not just well water. It is, I put some nutrients in the water. But this way, the roots are going to follow the water down. So all I need to do is to keep topping up the bottom one a little bit. Does that make sense to everybody? That's called hydroponic. And it is possible that, as Jody found out, not all roots will grow. I found some really did well and some didn't, Jody, so keep at it. All right, you will find one that suddenly does. But what I'm looking at is I probably will be eating more mint in my life. Why? Grows like a weed. I want to see whether chard grows inside. Those are the experiments I'm doing. So with your permission, I will keep updating you and let you know my progress. But the same thing as I've got a feeling that, a couple of bottles of sun-dried tomatoes, be it that they were oven-dried tomatoes, are going to be quite a good idea. Quite a nice snack, quite often. And the onions are to die for. I really recommend dehydrating onions, because not only are they great to throw into something, over a salad or put into a stew or something, but every now and then I'll just take one out and chew it, and it's really good. I could be a lot more healthy by doing this. That tomato was great. So Jody, I do hear you about the fact, make sure that you hydrate it enough to make sure that there is no moisture. So even though these are already crispy, Jody, they're going back in the oven tonight at a very low heat or I will leave them out in the house for a couple of, maybe a week to make sure that it's all dried. Right, when you've got no room in the fridge or freezer, it's time to start doing this. And what I realize is I've got a lot of bottles that I collect bottles and jars, and I'm going, even if I had one bottle of dehydrated tomato, I might be very grateful for that. But do you understand what I was saying about think about what you would need to spice things up? Because I don't think we will have a lot of opportunity to buy the fancy stuff. And that's why I'm starting to, I'm going, let me work out how do we do things like chutneys and sauces. And, what if you couldn't have tomato ketchup? But we'll talk about that on Friday. What are we going to do if, and we will continue. Yeah. And Jodi's saying, if I've already got the dried tomatoes, I can grind it up and make a tomato powder. And that in turn, I can turn into tomato sauce. Yep. So that's what I'm thinking, Jodi, and I might be wrong, but it's worth the experiment because I live my life through experiments. I don't know what it is in my mind that I want to know. I know it's possible to do this. And I know I've got the perfect area here to have a wall of vegetables growing inside in the winter. Why? Because of what happened during the coldest months of the year here. All right, I know how warm it gets there because it killed off, my hibiscus. It got that warm. So I'm going, I know I've got the light and I know I've got the heat. How did I dry the tomatoes? I cut them up, Kim. They were grape tomatoes and I cut them in half, lengthwise. I put them on a tray in my toaster oven at the lowest setting overnight. But they still need a little bit more. I've got a couple here that are still a little squashy. And so those I will put back in under heat. But the rest of them I'm going to keep out for about a week to make sure that there is no more moisture in them. And then they will go into a sealed bottle. Okay. These are my leeks. I've dried leeks here. And again, very important. What I wanted to also say to you is that my onions here, this is like, maybe I don't need to be growing onions. Maybe I can have all the onion flavor I need between my leeks and my spring onions. All right, so Sandy, I want a bit of logic here. Are you ready? Just a bit of logic. Because Sandy's saying it scares me to leave my oven on. I might look into getting a dehydrator. Yes, if you don't have a small oven. The reason I've got a toaster oven that is a big toaster oven. But, why is the dehydrator any less scary to leave on overnight? Or here's the other thing, Sandy, leave it on during the day. All right. You don't have to leave it on at night if that's what scares you. Then do it during the day. I actually did quite a bit last night before I went to bed. We were talking about getting an extra freezer. I haven't been able to get one yet. And if I do want to order one, it won't get here until July. I can tell you what my fear is. My fear is that by July, I might not be able to get the meat. Quite honestly, A dehydrator is basically a mini oven. All right, that's all it is. It's a low heat oven. So my question is, why spend the money? Yeah, put your oven on low heat and leave it overnight. But that's just my logic. And quite honestly, think about that. All right. And if you don't want to leave an oven on overnight, then do it during the day while you're watching television, and let it heat during the day, cool off overnight, put it back the next day. Yeah. So Rinsky, I'm probably going to be doing that this week, is ordering one. What I thought I would do is get a long one and put it at the bottom of my bed, because I can cover it with a blanket and it will look just fine. Nobody will know what it is. A long, lower one. Okay, so Nyasha's asking, oh, you want to know how I make washing soap? Yeah. So, there are lots of I heard Jody saying, keep your flour in the freezer as well. It'll stop it getting buggy. I heard that cloves will stop it getting buggy. Did you know that? So if you throw cloves in the cupboard where you have the flour, you won't be getting the weevils and stuff. And there is a reason why you want to sift your flour. No, I didn't think you knew, Jody. So this is what we're all going to learn. All right. This is the whole thing. This is why we're going to learn. So I don't know how much flour I will need until that we can buy things easily again. I think we will get some flour rations. So anyway, we will learn, and that's part of. So you would like more stuff like this about what I'm doing and why? I don't want to scare you all, but on the other hand, I want to show you that if you don't have a garden, you can still feed yourself greenery, is what I'm trying to show you. But it takes a bit of practice, so start practicing now, so that by the time we get to winter, if you can't get, maybe you can't get all the vegetables you want, but you can grow salad. So let's keep being prepared. I'll keep playing with it because that gives me great pleasure. All right, everybody. What did you not know, Nyasha? Why does that happen? I never knew that. I don't know what you're referring to. All right, so Kim's trying to get her community to learn how to do this. Yes, they'll probably think you're insane, Kim, and that's okay. But, start doing it, right? If you think about it, I just started doing it. Now all you guys are interested. True? And and it's like, who would have believed that this mint? And can you imagine what I'm looking at? I can make a salad already from a few of the leaves, some mint leaves, some chopped onion, maybe some carrot leaves. I could make a salad out of that if I wanted to. And of course, my next thing is, can I grow tomatoes inside? I have a little plant like this that is in my bathroom, and I'm going to try and grow that tomato in that location to see if I can grow tomatoes in there, because that seems to get light all day long. Oh, you didn't know that flowers being buggy. Talk to your mum about it. She'll tell you about it. I do. I want to tell you something, Jody. Jody's saying I have as much light as a greenhouse. And I have the water and the heat. You know something, Kim? Look after you. Don't worry about other people's judgment. If this helps you feed yourself in the future, you're going to be really glad you learned the art. But as Jody has found out, it's not 100% guaranteed it's going to work. And I do want to warn you that growing lettuce is a very long, slow process. And I am really glad, and I really recommend getting butter lettuce and trying it with that, because that is all I did. Was as soon as I buy a butter lettuce that's still that has the roots on it, right? You can buy them alive like this, and then at the moment it's just continuing. So this must be at least a month old now, Jody. All right. Am I correct on that? I've harvested this at least 3 times, and I've got a feeling, and we know that the bottom leaves where I've been harvesting are starting to grow now. Can you see them? It'll take quite a while for them to be big enough, but in other words, I'm taking from the top, but the ones from the bottom are beginning to grow out again. So it'll be interesting to see how long it lasts. A month, yes. So I'm going to put March on this to see how long it lasts, how long I can keep it going. I will do that before I put it away. All right. I'm a bit over time, but I hope you're okay with it. So let's do this, do the best we can. How many of you can see that I'm already at the point nearly where I can make a salad with stuff that I've just grown here? That's what I'm looking for. Can I make my own bread? Can I make a salad? Those are all things that I think are going to be important. This is DearMamaSal saying, don't be scared, be prepared, and let's keep learning how to do these things. And by the way, if you know how to do things, share it with me, and I will keep playing the experiments with you. This is DearMamaSal saying, community is our life. Thank you for being part of ours. This is DearMamaSal saying, bye-bye for now, and have a great week. Learn lots. You got time. Bye.